to Fit and Pain-Free the Bonnie Prudden Way. I'm Enid Whitaker, and I'm joined by Sandy Dirks. Our program each month will center around fitness pioneer Bonnie Prudden and her accomplishments, her method of exercise, and pain erasure the Bonnie Prudden Way, or Bonnie Prudden myotherapy, which is a way to get rid of muscle-related pain. Join us as we begin each meeting with a few tension-relieving exercises.
Hello, and welcome to Fit and Pain-Free the Bonnie Prudden Way. Today, we're talking about the Institute for Physical Fitness, how Bonnie started it, what its purpose was, and all about it. Enid, you want to start us off?
Sure. It all started because Bonnie felt that her girls needed more physical outlets, and that was in 1947. And so she asked the girls to, after visiting her oldest girl's gym class and finding it really nothing, she told them to invite 5 friends each and they'd meet in the Girl Scout house. And after about 5 weeks, she had 75 kids, and it just kept growing and growing, and she outgrew whatever facilities she was using until finally she said, I have to go professional. And she hadn't gone professional before because her father-in-law said she could not do anything that earned money. But at that point, she was divorced and she bought this old schoolhouse and gutted it and then put all kinds of modern dance rooms and gyms and a sauna and massage room and a weightlifting room. She had all the things that you would think of today as being in a modern gym. And it was the first one of its kind. There's probably been nothing like it since. And she also had an outdoor obstacle course and the first climbing wall outside of the military. So all of those things were there. And because of her report to President Eisenhower on the unfitness of American children, and the report that shocked the president, as it was called, and also the 3 meetings at different facilities like West Point, she was in contact with a lot of people who were, quote, knew things and were up there. And so in those days, you could write a letter to the president and it would get there, or you could write a letter to the general and it would get there. So she knew a lot of these people. And once she gutted the schoolhouse and got it going, she had hundreds of kids and adults there every single week doing all kinds of classes. And because she knew so many people, they would come and visit there to see what was going on. And in one case, somebody said, well, how come everything's colored? And she said, everybody likes a circus. She had designed lots of different equipment that were, because she saw that already in the 70s, the parking lots, the grass was being paved and there wasn't a place for children to really grow up and experience what she had experienced as a child growing up in she was born in 1914. So she saw all of that disappearing, and she saw that kids weren't getting what they should get. So in this Institute for Physical Fitness, not only was it the first of its kind, but here she was, a woman who was doing this without the help of a man, and in a discipline that really was a man's world if you want to say it that way, because in some cases, women weren't even allowed in the gyms that were up and running at that point. So that's how it all started, because she wanted more for her own two girls.
Did she start the Institute for Physical Fitness before the report that shocked the president, or was it after?
It was at about the same time, because it was opened in 1955. And because the meeting was in June of 55, and she opened it in the fall of 55.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's what, and this was in White Plains, New York. Is that where she was at the time?
Right, and I've Googled it, and that really nothing appears in that at that particular address anymore, which is 5 Hillside Avenue. I couldn't find anything there. So it's either been paved over or something else has been built there.
Okay. Because I know I re-looked at in July of 1956, Sports Illustrated did an article on the Institute for Physical Fitness.
Right. Yeah.
And they called Bonnie the barefoot executive.
Exactly, because she was always barefoot except for being outside where you really needed shoes. Yes.
And so they profiled her in the magazine, but they also talked about, you're right, it says she converted it, it had 6 gymnasiums, locker rooms, facilities for massage, snack bar, and her office, as well as the outdoor physical fitness apparatus.
Right. Now, who else had those things going on at that time? She was so far for her time. Partly she knew about massage because her mother used to go for massages. So early on, when she was just a little kid, she had massages.
Yes. Yes. Yes, she was way ahead of her time. This also says that the outdoor hurdles, what the outdoor physical fitness apparatus was, a request came for it from Sargent College, and Bonnie happily supplied them with the detailed dimensions and instructions for no fee. And what they say about that is, such a gift seemed entirely appropriate to Bonnie, a woman more interested in spreading her doctrine than increasing her dollars. Yeah, which has been true her whole career.
Exactly. And Sargent College was the physical fitness college.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The other thing is that a lot of her equipment, like the horses and the parallel bars, that kind of thing, were donated by West Point, because West Point was getting new equipment.
Aha. Okay. So yeah, you said that. And Nissen?
George Nissen of the Nissen mats donated mats to her, and also a big trampoline.
Okay.
So, like I said, she knew a lot of people, and they were willing to help her because they knew she was doing something of value for a lot of people.
Yes, and was the U.S. women's ski team, the Olympic team, didn't they train at this facility?
Yeah, that was a little later.
Okay.
They didn't have any facility to train at that particular year. So she offered them to come to her to the Institute for Physical Fitness. And at that time, they hadn't even had any training other than skiing. And she gave them weight training and all kinds of exercise that would get them prepared to ski well. And Penny Patu won a silver that year, I believe.
Yes. So we'll include pictures of the facilities, which you so kindly provided to us.
Yeah.
And it just makes me laugh a little bit too, because in the Sports Illustrated article, they talk about over the hurdles with the author. And so they went through, Bonnie took this author through her hurdles and other things. So cargo nets, balance track, hurdles, rope climb, tires, ramps, weave it, balance ladder. It wasn't just one little thing. And I remember Bonnie talking about some of what she built was to mimic what she did as a kid, walking along the railroad ties, climbing up on top of a fence, walking along that,
Right. All the equipment was simple and could be built by any handyman,
Yes.
or father, or carpenter. It was, and she put all of these dimensions in all of her books that she wrote after that.
Yes.
But inside, in addition to all of the dance studios and the gyms and the weightlifting room and so forth, I believe there were 47 stairs.
Oh, wow.
Stairs to Bonnie was something that you used to get fit. So each morning there would be a note saying how you used the stairs, and it could be you hopped up or you jumped up, and then when you got to the landing you did 3 deep knee bends. So she used everything in that place for one reason or another, and there were chinning bars in every doorway, so when you went through you did some chin-ups or let-downs. That was actually the same thing in her own house in Stockbridge. There was a chinning bar in her doorway to her bedroom. The other thing that Bonnie demanded, and it had many different reasons, she demanded manners and respect. And that went for everybody. And she demanded discipline. She knew that a lot of people would be coming through there, and that the kids needed to know manners and discipline and respect. And it wasn't like she was demanding that everybody stand up when she came in. She was teaching them manners.
And I was going to say, it was not only about that, but it was a whole philosophy of living your life with kindness and respect toward others as well. Because I remember her talking about, she would have the kids shake the teacher's hand and looking into their eyes and say, what color is their eyes? To make sure that they were looking at them.
Right. Yeah.
As well as the whole bellwether
right
experience.
Yeah, if a child was having trouble, they would be assigned a bellwether who would help them to go through whatever they were having trouble with, so that they wouldn't feel out of it. She was just, I can remember
There was somebody assigned to them.
Yeah.
To help them.
Right. She said that the assistants, when each child left the facility each day, they would have to, like you said, look into the teacher's eyes, because the teacher would squat down so they were level with them, and the teacher would put her hand on their shoulder, which was a kind of like a cape and a comfort. So those were things that happened on a daily basis.
Yes. So she wasn't just teaching physical fitness.
Right. And she never did just teach physical fitness.
No. And then the other thing that I remember her talking about was that the children did need to learn discipline, and the adults that came through needed to learn how to play.
Yeah. And she also believed in uniforms, so that everybody was, they weren't competing as far as the sneakers or their shorts or their tops or whatever. They all had uniforms, and they were color coded. Little kids had one color, the kids on the upper level had a little different color, and the teenage girls had black tights. But she also developed some other fitness clothing that was very colorful, and that was displayed and sold at Montgomery Ward's.
Yes, we'll have to do another vlog on her fitness fashions.
Yeah. So there was a uniform always, and actually the outdoor climbing wall also was color coded, so that if at one color you could go to that level, and then another color you could go to that level, and then so that nobody ever got hurt. And that was part of the reason for the discipline, is that she had all these kids coming through and adults, and she needed to make sure that nobody ever got hurt. There was one story she used to tell, and I think it's in one of the books too. She had heard that a little boy down the street had died when he was chewing gum and it got caught in his throat. And so she had a rule about there was no gum chewing at the Institute for Physical Fitness. Not only did it not look nice, but that's not what she said. She said, I don't want to step in it. But the real reason was that she didn't want anybody to swallow and get hurt. And so she told them that if they chewed gum, she would give them a warning. And they had that time to figure out no more gum chewing. But if it came to the third warning, she would take the gum, part their hair, put the gum there, and then push all the hair over it so it stuck. And then she would call the mother and tell them what had happened and tell them not to take it out right away. But then when they were ready to take it out, they could use chocolate and it would come out. I don't know. I never tried it, so I guess it worked. But,
Yes.
but she was not a person who would take parent complaints. She believed in her instructors. And if they said something, she believed them because they were taught to do the right thing and to keep everybody safe and happy,
Yes.
as well as fit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The other thing they used to do was a performance.
Right.
I'm not sure if it was once a year or more than that, a spring performance.
It was a spring performance, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
Every single child was involved, and Bonnie always took part too. For instance, she would have a different theme every year. And one of the themes was bullying. Because she didn't, and it was as much for the parents, if not more for the parents than the kids. And in some of the photographs that will be included in this, you're going to see a group of kids bullying another kid and somebody else standing with a white face, not paying any attention. So it was a really learning experience and for everybody. So that was one of the things. And then she had a different theme every year. Once it was the little train and it was Mexican. And Dick, her husband, was really an artist too. And he did all the artwork that went with the performances. Okay. So it was really quite an elaborate celebration, so to speak. And another time they did Kabbaleski, the music from that. So it was like a circus. And at that time, Bonnie made paper mache horses' heads in her oven.
Oh my gosh.
There are still horses' heads here in the archives. I kept the ones that had not deteriorated so much. So it was a fun time, a learning time. Everybody got to participate, and it was really a show of what could be done very simply. Because Bonnie also, because she'd been in the theater and had been in the theater, so to speak, in her high school years, she knew about costume. And she was very creative and she could create something out of nothing. So you got the idea without a lot of expense, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I wish I had been around then. Wish I had gone to school then. You probably do too. Although I think that you probably get letters every once in a while from someone who had that experience with her. I know for sure the ski school you did.
Yeah. In fact, it was funny when her obituary came out in the New York Times, but not everybody gets an obituary in the New York Times. There was a picture of Bonnie, but there were these guys in back of her shirtless because she always had them take off their shirts and show their muscles. And I got a couple of different emails from the guys who were in back of her saying, that's me, that's my brother.
Very cool.
So the kids that were there in the 50s showed up in the New York Times in 2011.
Very cool.
Cool. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you'd like to talk about with the Institute for Physical?
I think we covered pretty much everything, don't you?
Okay. I think we have too, and we will include pictures from the time, pictures of the Institute and Bonnie and the wonderful things that she was able to accomplish with that.
Actually, that equipment is still viable. It had been stored in the tough shed. And now actually, because of my flood, and the tough shed was washed down the wash about 40 feet. But one of my friends, who is a fitness historian, Ron Jones, and we've done a lot of videotapes together, and you can see them online on YouTube. He came and got all the equipment and took it to Oklahoma, where he teaches physical education. And he's repainting it and screwing it and make sure everything's safe to be used with his classes of elementary school kids. And that equipment, some of it is what Bonnie had at the Institute from 1955 to 1959 when she closed it. So it's pretty historical.
It's very historical and still usable. Very, very neat.
Ron and I did some extra videos, which aren't up yet. But he'll also be videotaping the kids using the equipment in a new place.
And that he does that via the Lean Berets.
The Lean Berets
is the name of his YouTube handle. Yep.
LEA.
Yep, LEAN Berets. Yep. And he has his own YouTube channel.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Enid.
And as Bonnie says, keep fit, be happy.